The court is back in session. Madam Witness, we will continue with your testimony. Are you ready? Answer, yes. The chamber will now give the floor back to the prosecution and the civil parties. You have up to the end of the day to examine the witness. Yes, Mr. President, thank you. Madam Witness, I am almost done. I'll ask a few questions to you and then I'll give the floor to the lawyer for the civil parties. Before we went on break, we talked of the arrest of members of Ms. Un's family and those of Man Byrne. And you did say that you knew them and that it was the surviving members of those families who told you what had happened at Kanchachan. Regarding the incident in Srey Kaur village, can you tell us who took the decision to arrest members of those families? Was that decision taken by the upper echelon? Answer. Kun was arrested. For reasons I remember, the fact is that he organized a meeting at which people were asked to give their fingerprints. There were about 60 participants at that meeting. The purpose of that meeting was to bring about some changes and to dissolve the cooperative. The village reported that meeting to me and I forwarded the report to the district regarding the arrest. I had nothing to do with it. It was members of the district themselves who came to carry out the arrest. I had nothing to do with it. I'll read another extract of your record of interview regarding the fact that you did say that you were afraid at the time under the regime and that if you hadn't implemented instructions received from the upper echelon, you wouldn't have survived. That is what you said in answer 220, beg your pardon. That's what you said in answer 220. I will quote in English.
If I forget or remember, we had to do this during the Khmer Rouge regime, or we would definitely be killed. I did not want to do this. I was frightened. If I had not done that, I would definitely have been separated from my children. Answer 258. It does not matter if it relates to me, for I have surrendered myself. I regret what happened. And answer 310. If I did not believe in the revolution, how would I been able to survive until now? End of quote. Est-ce que vous pourriez nous en dire plus sur cette...
Can you be more elaborate regarding the fear of committing errors or not implementing instructions that were issued to you as part of your duties? Answer. I would like to make one clarification. I had to implement instructions from the upper echelon. You stated that you regretted what had happened. You have an opportunity now before this chamber to explain to us what you regretted exactly with regard to what happened during the regime. Answer? I regret the fact that Cambodians were pitted against one another, fought with one another, and could not live in accordance with the traditions, and people were separated from one another. Broadly speaking, that is what I would say. We did not have the opportunity to live with our family members. You made mention of meetings at the level of the district a while ago. You also referred to them in your statement before the co-investigating judges. You said there were meetings in the sectors. Can you tell us whether there were General Assembly meetings in Sector 13 once or twice a year, and whether there were General Assembly meetings held in the Southwest Zone as well? Answer? No. General Assembly meetings were never held in the zones and sectors. There were some General Assembly meetings, but I did not attend them for health reasons. I will end with some quotes. First of all, regarding what you said in regard to meetings at the level of the sector. These were not General Assembly meetings, but ordinary meetings. I'll quote the passages in English, and it is the record of your interview, E319/12.3.2, beginning with answer number 90, and I quote,
They had us report security issues, arrests, and so on. Question 91. Did the meeting chairperson give any instructions or specific orders to identify the enemy? Your answer 91. Yes, they talked about the enemy. I do not remember many of their words. The villagers' written reports had to be sent straight to the upper echelon without changes. Then a little further, the upper echelon instructed us on who the enemies were, and I took those instructions back to the villagers. They told us to seek out the opposition. They did not say enemy. Question 249. During the meetings with sector or district level, did the meeting chairperson talk about the types of people who had been designated as counter-Ankar targets? Answer. Anti-Ankar people were those who were wayward or bad. In short, they did not listen to what we told them. They had us to monitor the ones suspected of being no good or bad, for instance, both the new and old people. End of quote. Est-ce que vous pourriez préciser?
Can you specify who were the chiefs or cadres of the sectors who talked to you about those issues, that is, the enemies and the need to search for persons opposed to Ankara? Can you give us the names of cadres who talked about it? Answer: I do not remember because there were so many of them. All I remember is the instructions regarding the need to re-educate them and to train them. Again, I am only quoting what you stated earlier. You also stated that people from Phnom Penh who had been evacuated to your commune had been killed because they were denounced as persons opposed to Ankara. I'll quote the record of your interview. Answer 242 in English.
Quote, yes, there were a lot of killings. You are all Khmer, so you all definitely know. We all lost alike. Even I also lost. The citizens from Phnom Penh who had been evacuated to my site were killed. Those people were reported for opposing Ankara. The village reported to me about this, and I forwarded this report. This kind of problem happened a lot. End of quote. Comment avez-vous?
How did you come to know about the fate of those citizens from Phnom Penh who had been evacuated to your district and who were killed? Who told you about them? And according to your own reckoning, how many of them were arrested and executed? Answer: I was not aware of it, and I cannot give you any figures.
Je n'ai plus de questions, Monsieur le Président.
I have no further questions, Mr. President. President, the Chamber gives the floor to the Civil Party lead co-lawyer. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Mari Giro, and I'm the international lawyer representing the consolidated group of civil parties in this trial. I would have a number of questions for you up to the end of this hearing at 4 p.m. I would first of all like to have you clarify a number of points regarding your role as the chief of Chiang Tong Commune. Can you tell us how many cooperatives there were in your commune? Answer: I do not recall. I have forgotten everything. I thank you. Let me refresh your memory, because you told the co-investigating judges investigators in E319/12.3.2, and I quote, answer 140, you stated the following: there was only one cooperative in your commune. Does this answer refresh your memory? There was only one cooperative in my commune, said the witness. Does this refresh your memory? Answer: Counsel, I didn't hear what you said.
Répétez, Madame le témoin.
Madam Witness, I repeat my question. You told the investigators of the co-investigating judges that there was only one cooperative in your commune. Does this refresh your memory? President, Counsel, apparently the extract you're reading out is wrong. In a village there was a cooperative, or in a cooperative there was a village? Because according to her answer, there was a cooperative in a village. Counsel, I will read quite simply for the record the answer I'm referring to and move on to another question, because that is not indeed my priority this afternoon. The witness stated in answer 140 of her interview record, and I'll read out what he said.
In your commune, et Madame le témoin a répondu, there was one cooperative in my commune. Madame le témoin, vous...
Counsel, Madam Witness, do you recall whether you had any role to play during the election of the commune chief? Answer: could you please repeat your question? Counsel, did you play any role during the election or appointment of the chief of the cooperative? Answer: the chief of the cooperative and commune chief were two different persons. I didn't understand your question a while ago. Question: did you have any role to play in the election or the appointment of the cooperative chief in your commune? Answer: I had to educate that person in order that that person may be honest with the inhabitants, in order that the person would love the inhabitants, and to make sure that people didn't break the pots and pans. Counsel, thank you. At the very beginning of your testimony this morning, you talked of cooperatives in your commune, and you said, and I quote, unit of children, women, and youths. Did you make any such statement this morning? Do you recall making that statement this morning? Answer: yes. Question: Did you receive any instructions to separate women, men, and the youngsters? Answer yes. Question. Did anyone explain to you why it was necessary to separate women, children, and men from one another? Answer. Instructions were given because according to the upper echelon, they had to be separated in order to avoid faults of moral misconduct committed by boys and girls. The children also had to be set aside in order to educate them during breaks.
Quand vous dites qu'il fallait mettre les enfants à part parce
Question. When you say that children had to be set aside in order to be educated during the breaks, can you explain to us how that happened in your commune? Answer. What I mean is that the purpose was to teach them how to read and write during the breaks, particularly during the midday break. Question. Were you instructed to assign tasks to the children? Answer. Yes. That was in line with instructions from the upper echelon, but the children didn't have to do hard work like the adults. Question. A while ago, you stated at the very end of the prosecution's examination that one of your regrets was that you had not had the opportunity or the possibility of living with members of your family. Can you tell us a bit more about that and tell us why during the democratic Kampuchea regime people were not allowed to live with their family members? Answer. As I told you earlier, I think boys and girls had to get together, and that is why the parents couldn't live with them. I thank you. I would like you to react to a statement we heard in this courtroom. A few days ago, we heard Pet Chim. He testified on the 23rd of April 2015 at about 9:41. And a question was put to Pet Chim regarding the reasons for the establishment of these units. And he talked about that, and this is what he stated, and I quote, free translation, units were put in place in order that we may have some control on the forces. We needed to know who were children, who were youngsters, who were women in the cooperatives. We had to control the forces at our disposal. We had to know who was ill, who was lazy, and we needed to exercise some control over those people. End of quotes, free translation. What do you think of these statements by Mr. Pek Chim before this chamber? Answer: I agree with him. Counsel: Thank you. Petchim stated on the same day, shortly before, when a question was put to him regarding discipline in the cooperatives, this is what he said, and I quote, free translation: "It was strict, which means that people had to obey. They could not act freely. We had to work together in order to produce what was expected of us. People were therefore not free. They had to link hands in order to carry out the tasks that were required." End of quote. Do you agree, witness, with the statements given by Mr. Petchim during the hearing? Answer: There were prevalent food shortages, and we had to organize ourselves in that manner. Question: I thank you. Did the base people receive the instructions to watch over the new people? Yes. However, I would like to place things in context, sort of. The new people were monitored, as well as the old people, and such surveillance was done in the same way.
Peuple de base.
Thank you very much. Who would watch over the base people?
They were at different levels depending on the organizations, ranging from the groups to the village and to the commune.
Thank you, witness. I'm not sure that I understood the French translation. The translation I heard was that there were members from the village who were in charge of chasing. Did I understand correctly? And can you explain to me what you mean by the term to chase, to follow?
The monitoring was not only conducted by the group chief, the village chief, or the commune chief, but also people from the district level engaged in the monitoring activities.
Thank you. So concretely speaking, were there people in the district who would watch over the workers within the units on the work sites?
Regarding the work site, it was done jointly. As for the monitoring activity, it was confidential, so I cannot say anything about that. The work at the work site was done by all people from various levels, namely from the village, the commune, and the district.
Thank you. So how did you learn that people from the district would watch over people, including the base people? Is this something that you knew with regard to someone in particular?
I did not receive this information from anyone in particular. However, that was what happened. Even personally, I was fearful that I was the target of the monitoring activity.
Thank you. Now, I would like to continue with this issue of monitoring and ask you a few questions about the presence of militiamen within your commune, in which we already spoke about today. Can you tell us how many militiamen there were within your commune?
The number varied. The militiamen were recruited from various villages, and the number was determined by the district, and the number kept changing constantly.
Can you give us an idea? Were there militiamen in each village in your commune, or were the militiamen organized in a different way?
I do not get your question. Please rephrase your question.
Yes, of course. I simply wanted to know if there were militiamen in each village within your commune, or if things were not so clearly organized as that.
The militiamen were available only at the commune level. However, sometimes they went to stationed at certain villages within that particular commune.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. What were the duties of these militiamen?
There were various responsibilities for the militiamen. The main one was the security matter, so that they had to protect the people against the enemy inside and outside. Another major role of the militiamen was to engage in the rice production, so they perform the same work as the ordinary villagers.
Les miliciens.
And would the militiamen carry out their duties at night or during the day? Could you be a bit more specific about the kind of monitoring that they would carry out?
It is difficult for me to describe that. Sometimes the militiamen worked at night, and sometimes, based on a report, they also worked during the daytime.
Thank you. I'm going to quote a short excerpt of an interview of a civil party who testified before this chamber. And I would like you to react so that you can tell me if in your commune things would happen in the same way. This civil party is Chukumlan, and she was heard, and the document is E1/253.1. and she stated at 49 and 52 seconds, in the evening, if the militiamen saw light or a fire where we were living, then they would immediately come to where we were living in order to ask us what we were doing. Free translation, was this the kind of monitoring that the militiamen would carry out within your commune?
I was not sure about that, as I cannot recall any particular events in relation to this.
Thank you. Were the militiamen armed?
Some of them were armed, but not all.
And where would the weapons come from? Did you know back then?
Through my knowledge, the weapons were provided from the upper echelon, likely from the district level.
Thank you. Now I would like to put to you a more generic question regarding the role that you exercised at the district level. You said that you were in charge of women's affairs. And can you explain to us what were the issues that you were particularly involved with?
Allow me to respond to that question. I said that I was in charge of the women. I meant that I educated them about the morality, about the way of the living, and about the work of the rice production, so that we could resolve the living condition amongst us, the women, and amongst all the people within the commune. These are some of the activities that I engaged in, and of course I cannot recall every single activity.
Thank you. When you were heard or interviewed by the investigators, and you said at answer 100 of your records, by giving a free translation of the three topics that were mentioned in English, and you said that women were responsible for children in priority, of the elders, and for education as well. Does this ring a bell, and can you confirm that these were issues in which you were particularly involved?
I cannot recall that.
Thank you. Can you explain what the working conditions were like for women in the different units of your commune? What were the working conditions for the female workers you were in charge of?
I actually don't understand your question.
Je vais reformuler.
Let me rephrase this then. were the working conditions for women different from the working conditions of men?
จ้ะ
The working condition for the women was lighter than that of the men.
And what would happen when women were pregnant? Did they have to work until they would deliver, or were measures taken?
For women who were pregnant, they were allowed only to do light work. For instance, to do light work in the cooperative, to prepare the vegetable in the kitchen.
Thank you. We heard different testimonies, and just with regard to the written record, with regard to the record I would like to mention Taksam, who was heard a few weeks ago by the chamber, and his transcript is E1/286.1, and he said at around 1:31 in the afternoon that this person had to work until she delivered, until the day she delivered. So what is your reaction to this? And can you tell us if this would happen sometimes in your commune?
Through my knowledge, this never happened unless I was not aware of it, as I was not reported about it.
เรียนเธอดับ
Je vous remercie. Vous avez indiqué
Thank you. You said earlier that one of the reasons the children's unit was created was to allow for children's education during downtime, and I'd like you to react to statements we heard here, since at least 3 civil parties stated that they were not able to go to school when they were in the children's units during the DK regime. And I'm going to start with the statement of Ying Yen, and the transcript is E1/287.1. And he states, at around 9:37 in the morning, open quote, back then there were no schools, all I would do was to work. And we also heard another civil party by the name of Bunsarun. This is transcript E1/288.1, and who stated at 10:48 in the morning, we were told that we could learn how to read and write, but in reality, in my unit, all we would do is work, or work and eat. And that same civil party said, I am full of remorse, and my ignorance was caused by the regime, because when I was a child, I was not lucky enough to go to school, and therefore I became an ignoramus today.
President, Council Lead Co-Lawyer Council, please hold on, and Council Kong Sam On, you have the floor. Kong Sam On, thank you, Mr. President. I object to the question by the International Lead Co-Lawyer for Civil Parties. Her last question is relevant to the crimes and facts that cannot be put to be contested before this witness testimony. Thank you.
I don't understand the objection, Mr. President, so I'm simply going to just keep on with what I'm doing. I just simply wanted to give the witness an opportunity to answer, but I prefer moving ahead now. I have a certain number of questions.
President, lawyer for civil party, please hold on, and Councillor Kong Sam On, you have the floor. Kong Sam On. In order to clarify my objection, I'd like to mention a decision of the trial chamber dated 24 December 2014, that is document E319/7, and in one of the sub-paragraphs it reads, my apology, I have a wrong document with me. Just give me a little bit of time.
I somehow accepted to move ahead in order to gain time, so I'm going to continue while my colleague finds the document's reference. Witness, I have a certain number of questions to ask to you with regard to the food. You said to us that there were shortages. As a commune chief, what was your role in relation to this question of food and to the distribution of the food?
President, Councillor Kong Sam On, you may continue. Councillor Kong Sam On, my apology, Mr. President. The document is E236/5/3/2, which is your Honor's decision dated 22nd May 2013, and it was distributed to all the parties. It is essentially an instruction by the chamber for the video-linked testimony of a civil party TCCP 13, and in the document it reads that for the impact statement, it is intended to give opportunity to the civil party to provide evidence in relation to moral and collective reparations, and that is in pursuant to Rule 23(1)(b) of the ECCC internal rules. Thank you.
I will ask for clarification a little later on, because I must say I didn't understand my colleague's objection. So I take note of it, but I will move on. I maybe should repeat my last question, witness, because of this interruption. You told us earlier that there were food shortages. And my question, therefore, is the following. So as a commune chief, what was your role with regard to the distribution of food?
Regarding food distribution, it was not that difficult, although there was indeed a shortage of food. In my commune, the shortage of food rarely happened, and it only happened when it was the end of the harvest season, as that was the times we had to cook rice in the form of a thick gruel for the people.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. So would the workers complain when there were food shortages?
จ้า
Yes, there were. However, we could not find any other source of food, and it was the reality on the ground. So they had to bear with the situation.
And with regard to the shortage that you're speaking about, would any of the local people steal food?
จ้า
There might be cases of stealing food, yes.
Que se passe-t-il?
And what would happen when people who had stolen food were identified?
จ้า
If they were spotted, they might be detained and brought to the commune for re-education.
Thank you. You also said in your written record of interview at answer 147, and I will quote it in English,
Having a little food to eat was regarded as a minor crime. Est-ce que vous vous souvenez?
do you remember this? That is to say, the fact that stealing food was only considered a minor crime.
จ้า
Yes.
De qui
And where did you get this information? Who gave you this information? Why did you say that stealing food was only a minor crime? For example, did you receive any instructions from the higher echelon that allowed you to categorize crimes between serious crimes and less serious crimes?
จ้า
Yes. We received the instruction from the upper echelon. For instance, the stealing of food due to food shortage was considered a minor offense, and the serious offense would be for those who acted against the regime, or they stole dishes and buried them.
Therefore, stealing dishes was considered by the higher echelon as a serious crime. Did I understand correctly?
It was not the ultimate serious crime. However, when people were hungry from food shortage, they resorted to stealing food, then it means they committed minor crimes. And other people who stole dishes or cooking pots or threw them away, they would be considered the enemy.
Thank you. And according to the instructions you received from the higher echelon, what were the most serious crimes?
The most serious crime was the act of opposing the regime or of destroying the property of the cooperative.
ហើយជាដើមចា
Est-ce que vous avez
Were you a witness of serious crimes, crimes of destruction of property in the cooperative? Can you provide us an example of this?
I did not witness such a crime personally. However, I received information about it.
Do you have an example in mind, an example of a serious crime, that is, say, destroying the collective property of the cooperative?
I already gave you an example earlier, that is the destruction of the cooperative collective property or tools or cooking pots or other material.
Thank you. I have 2 to 3 extra questions to ask with regard to the question of marriages. Witness, you were heard this morning with regard to marriages and how these marriages were organized within your commune. And you told us right now that you had received clear instructions from the higher echelon with regard to what could be considered a major crime or a minor crime. Did you also receive such clear instructions from the higher echelon with regard to marriages?
On the issue of marriage, and like I stated this morning, it was decided by the persons themselves, and secondly, it was the match as husbands and wives by the authority, and some of them consented to the proposal while others did not. And the decision on who were to be married was proposed to the upper echelon, and based on their decision, then the marriage was organized.
Je vous remercie. Je voudrais vous faire.
Thank you. I would like to quickly react to a statement by Pek Chim when he testified on the 23rd of April. He gave the following explanation. At 9 hours 24:36, he stated that the chief of the women's unit was considered as the mother of all those women. So she wanted to know whether members of the unit who wanted to be married agreed to consummate the marriage. Do you agree that the head of the women's unit was considered as the mother of all the women? And if so, can you explain why?
The woman unit chief was considered as the mother of the women was correct, because during the regime, all the unit chiefs were considered the mothers of those women in their respective units. And the reason for that was it was the responsibility of the unit chief who had to educate the members, that is, the women. And they were close to the women and they took care of them. And that's why they were considered the mother of the women in her unit. And it was the unit chief who understood well as which woman in her unit would be matched to who, or to the man in another unit.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Did it happen that those to be married did not know one another before the marriage ceremony?
I could know about the situation, and I could know about the situation at the best. They could know one another from the working together. However, not every man or woman who were married could stay together as husbands and wives, as some of them later on got divorced.
Je vous remercie. Nous avons
Thank you. We heard the testimony of a civil party in this hearing on the 29th of January 2015, Mrs. Raymond Chiang, who got married in 1977, and you were present, witness, at that wedding. And that civil party said at 13 hours 57 that she had never been introduced to the person who became her husband. Do you confirm that such a situation occurred during that period?
I cannot say that they were not familiar with one another, but I can say that sometimes after the marriage, some of them got a divorce.
Je vous remercie. J'ai une dernière question.
Thank you. I have one last question, Mr. President, if you would allow me to ask it. Witness, were the militiamen tasked with watching over the young married couple the first night following their wedding? Is that something that happened in your commune?
I did not have a full understanding in this regard, and I myself did not initiate any plan of monitoring those couples. And if it did happen during the regime, it happened without my knowledge.
Je vous remercie. Et juste dernière question.
Thank you. Final question. Did the upper echelon explain that the children had to be given to Anka, and that is why people had to get married? Is that something you heard at the time, that children had to be given to Anka?
No, I don't think I heard about this.
ពួកកូនប្រមូល
Because all the children were gathered together, and I did not hear that they were given to Angka.
Je vous remercie, Madame.
Thank you, witness, for having answered my questions patiently. Mr. President, I am done with my examination of this witness.
President, thank you, and Madam Kambun, thank you for your time. Today's proceedings come to an adjournment, and you and the Duty Council may rest now, and we will resume your testimony again tomorrow, commencing from 9 o'clock in the morning. For that reason, you both are invited to provide your testimony via a video link from the same location where you are now, and you may now be excused. Council Copper, the Chamber would like to ask a question of clarification to you. Through an email from the senior legal officer, we were informed that there is a request to postpone the hearing on the Friday the 8th, as you have an urgent matter to attend to back in your home country. Could you please provide your reason and clarification to the Chamber on the nature of the urgency, as it seems it is a rather belated request, and for that reason the Chamber would like to hear the reason for this belated request. And as you all know, the Chamber has scheduled the hearing for another witness via a video link on that particular day. Please give reasons to the Chamber so that we will have it as a grounds for our deliberation, as well as for the other parties and the general public.
Yes, Mr. President, I agree with you, with the trial chamber, that the request is belated. For the other parties' information, the request is to postpone the hearing Friday afternoon for us to be able to cross-examine a particular witness. The belatedness of the request is because of the health situation of my national colleague. We were under the assumption that he would be able, like the Q Pantinas now, to cross-examine this particular witness. It seems that is not really an option. As you know, we have now a new national lawyer to substitute the co-lawyer. However, considering the nature of the upcoming witness, we feel that at this stage it's not responsible to have Mr. Livsovana question this witness at such a late stage in this segment of the trial. Therefore, by high exception, we request to be able to cross-examine the witness Friday, not on Friday, but at some later stage, whenever it's convenient for the trial chamber. So I agree that the request is belated. However, we filed it because of the health situation of Sonaru.
Just to clarify, because it's a major logistic enterprise, in this case because it's a video link and teams are already out and cars have been booked and venues have been booked. Would you care to be a bit more specific as to why you are not here on Friday? What calls you to, I understand, Amsterdam or Holland?
I'm happy to tell you that, but I'm not sure if I would like to share that with the rest of the world. I can only say that it's not something. It is urgent, but it's not something that. I knew that already for quite a while, and this was the only opportunity that I could engage in my obligations. However, again, like the Kyusampan team, under the assumption that my national colleague would be able to question. I think that is also what I should be able to expect from my national colleague. However, considering the serious situation that my national colleague is in, therefore his incapacity to ask questions to the witness on Friday, considering that my new national colleague, who is now also in rope here, is not yet able to ask the questions that we think the witness should be asked. Therefore, we come with this very belated request. That's the reason behind it, and I understand it's problematic, but this is how it is.
President, thank you, Council. And any observation by other parties? Council Consummon, thank you, Mr. President. For our defense team for Kyusampan, we do not have any objection to that request. President, what about other parties?
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President, we are relying on the wisdom of the Chamber. It's unfortunate because the logistical arrangements have already been made and would like to proceed at the sustained pace we have maintained so far, but I will rely on the decision of the Chamber in this regard.
President, thank you, Council, for your reason and the observation by other parties, and the Chamber will rule on that in due course, and it is likely that the Chamber will inform the parties tomorrow. It is now time for the adjournment, and we will resume it tomorrow. That is the 5th of May 2015, commencing from 9 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow we will hear the remainder testimony of this witness via a video link from Battambang province. Security personnel, you are instructed to take the accused Nunchi and Kyusampan back to the detention facility and bring them back to attend the proceedings tomorrow before 9 o'clock. The court is now adjourned.